Welcome to Being Patient Live Talks. I'm Mark New, reporter of Being Patient. Our guest today is going to share with us her experiences in dealing with early onset Alzheimer's. Our guest today, it's not an easy thing to do, understandably, for so many, that is, talk about it and get really honest about how it's impacting their lives. But Alice Bailey certainly has done that and more, speaking about it to many audiences and sharing her wisdom. She joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us, Alice.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Can you take us back to the moment you first realized something wasn't quite right with your memory?
Yeah, my mother had suffered from dementia back in 2014. And in 2017, I started noticing some of the symptoms within myself. I was repeating questions that people were asking me. I was constantly losing things. I was getting lost while driving. and and I was always really behind in my work tasks. So my task, so I found myself staying later at work because I was the last one to get all my work done because I really couldn't focus and complete all my tasks at work. So it got really, really frustrating, on the job, things like that.
Okay. And when did it get to the point where you said, I've got to find out what's wrong, or, what's the first step in recognizing that not quite right, I should seek medical attention?
Yeah, I think it was the day that I was driving to a restaurant that I was very familiar with, and I got on the highway and I couldn't find the exit to the restaurant, even though I've been there a bunch of times. And I was in a total panic. I remember calling my husband. I called my husband in a panic. I was crying and everything because I couldn't figure out how to get back home. I wanted to go home, but I couldn't figure out where to go. I was in a neighborhood I was unfamiliar with. Um, and so he kind of talked me through it, and I was about an hour late getting to that restaurant appointment. So I said, I know something's not right. So I Googled a neurologist on my own, and I figured that maybe it would be, I could just talk to someone and they would reassure me that, you just because, some things are similar within you and your mom, that, it's just you relax, everything's fine. Well, then I find out everything's not fine.
And then everything's not fine. What do you do? I mean, you call um, your general doctor. What's the next step?
No, I went straight through neurologists. Luckily, my insurance didn't have to have a referral. So I called a neurologist, just one that was close to me, and made an appointment on my own. And I got my appointment was with a general practitioner. And we talked a little bit first in the beginning. And then she gave me some written tests. And then she gave me, memory tests that are very annoying that, count backwards or do the alphabet from Z to A, which is, would make anyone crazy. And then I was never good with angles, but she would want me to write down and copy these angles that she had for me. So that first day, everything was fine. She noticed that I had some memory issues with repeating the words that she's given me. And then she had suggested that I get an MRI.
And this is how many years ago, and how old are you at that time?
This was 2017, and I was 56.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was there some miscommunication early on with the doctors about, what you should do, or, tell me about that.
Miscommunication. Miscommunication. You mean after the diagnosis?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Or did you feel there was adequate follow-up?
No, I did not feel it was adequate follow up. As a matter of fact, we only saw each other every 6 months. And so things were going, my symptoms were kind of developing rapidly. And then she would want to know within a 6 month time period, how things were, you know, were adjusting. Some things I could remember and some things I didn't. One of the things I think that really helped me was bringing my daughter along, she took notes and she would repeat to the doctor exactly, her cares and what she thought things were going on. And that helped a lot because there's some things that like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened. And so she was really good. And then she would have to remind the doctor that we were going to do this or that, because this doctor wasn't um, very organized, and she had also forgotten that I had this test to take and to see these people, and she would forget herself that these things were set up in line. She would say, okay, I'm going to have you go to see another doctor, but you know that reference never came about. That doctor never called me, and she totally forgot that. So I had a horrible experience in the beginning.
And how did it affect you emotionally at the time upon learning your diagnosis? And you're only about 55 years old.
Right. My emotions, I was in panic mode. During After the MRI, they discovered I had a glioma. And the glioma, which was very, very small in size, she had sent me to see an oncologist. And then when I get there, I had all my family there thinking the worst, that I'm seeing a doctor that handles cancer. When we get there, the oncologist says, "Why did she send you to me? There's nothing we can do. Your glioma is too small, and I don't know if it's cancerous. It would have to be removed." So that was a huge waste of time and a big emotional, uh, disparity for me and my family. I mean, it was a good thing, but going up to it was really, really, really emotional. And then just to think that I know what my mother went through and how I would hate for my family. I went through with my mother, and I would hate for my family to also go through it as well.
And so your mother's diagnosis, tell me about that. Uh, was she diagnosed at a older age or what?
Yeah, she was in her 70s, but to me she had symptoms early on. Um and they were very subtle. She would take us out for a drive, and she would say, let's go for a drive, and then we'd find ourselves in some state, and just driving for hours. And we would say, "Do you know where are you going?" She's like, "Oh, we're just taking a little drive," and we would be gone for a long time. And then years went by, and she started coming over my house and saying that she had heard from my brother, which she hadn't, and they were going to go fishing. So she would grab up all her tackle gear and everything, come over my house, waiting for my brother to come pick her up and go fishing. And I knew that wasn't right. So again, I took her to doctors, and they kept telling me, "Oh, this is part of her aging process," and that she was fine. Well, it wasn't until I went on vacation. I took my family to Orlando, and when I returned, I got a phone call from the police saying that my mother was in the hospital. She had walked into somebody's backyard during a picnic, and she wanted to know why these people were in her house. So they called and sent her to the hospital where she laid on a gurney for 3 days until I returned there. And then she got not an MRI, but she got a what's it called? Huh? X-ray? No, she got a oh, I can't think of the other
PET
test.
scan? Is it a PET
Yes,
scan?
thank you. She got a PET scan or found out that she had advanced Alzheimer's. And this was only like 2, 3 years from the time that I noticed that something was wrong and they couldn't. I even had her hearing tested because she would often repeat questions that we ask her, or even statements. Are you going? We would say, are you going to what state are you in? And she would say, state. I want some state. Things like that. And so I had her hearing tested, and her hearing was absolutely fine. So it was very complicated in the beginning with both of us.
So having gone through that experience with your mother, how did that shape your own journey and when you had your diagnosis? Did it help prepare you at all, or is it still
It
something that really can't?
yeah, it helped prepare me. Only it made me sad because the way she passed, and dying from Alzheimer's is not a very pretty sight. You have to sign a DNR. All her money was taken away because of the Medicaid and everything. And so I don't want to, unfortunately, that part of the diagnosis is something you don't want to deal with. So I try to live well in the day. I try to put that's the past and deal with only what's happening in the future. And that made me feel a lot better.
And were you given any resources uh, when you were diagnosed, or do you felt like you weren't getting enough resources? Tell
Oh
me.
no, I wasn't given any resources. I didn't get a pamphlet. I didn't even get a chance to ask what Alzheimer's was. I was given a drug that she told me may or may not work. If you don't like it, you don't have to take it. If you have some complications, just don't take it because it's really not going to help you. It was very, a cut and dry type of communication. And my family and I were like so confused. It wasn't until we took in a seminar at my daughter's church that somebody from the Alzheimer's Association was given a seminar, and we found a lot of information um, about Alzheimer's, and she, referred me to other resources as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And touching base with the Alzheimer's Association, you yourself decided to get work, involved in advocacy work.
Yes.
I bet you've learned a lot from that, but also
Yes.
the experience has probably shaped the way you approach it now.
Yes. Um, I'm the Council of Black Dementia Minds, and a group that we can talk about all our troubles, our frustrations, everything that we deal with on a daily basis. Sometimes we get frustrated with the caregivers. We think we're not getting adequate care. We can talk about that, and then at the end we can also pray and be together with one in Christ, and that is been phenomenal experience that people from all around the world can get together and pray and hope for a cure, but also deal with the day-to-day issues that we have.
Okay. And you're involved with the Black community and spreading the word too. What have you discovered in whether there was the same awareness or lack of awareness and also resources?
Yeah, there is a lack of awareness in the Black community. For some reason, the Black community is not aware of any signs of Alzheimer's that I've discovered, even though we're getting diagnosed more than other when other cultures. When you go to a nursing home, there's very few African Americans there. um, as opposed to our other counterparts. So we're not getting the adequate care that we need once we are diagnosed. So I can just imagine many African Americans suffering at home with their, with their caretakers just confused as to what to do next. And if they were treated like I was treated, they're probably at home suffering, and their caretakers are very, frustrated as to what to do with mom or what to do with dad. It's a very disparaging future for us, but it's getting better. But I'm trying to rectify that in my own community.
Okay. And tell me, you have a very active approach to whether that be diet, exercise, or how you're, incorporated lifestyle changes.
Well, at first I wasn't given anything about nutrition. I wasn't given advice of diet and exercise. I was literally told to go home and die. And through advocacy and going through other seminars, they told me how health and nutrition was very important. Getting out exercise was very important. Um, and talking with friends and communicating with others was very good for the mind. Certain games um, was very well. If it hadn't been for those resources, I don't know where I would be, and most likely, my I would be at further progression if it hadn't been for those resources.
Okay. And tell me now, as you go out and speak, you know, what's most rewarding about it, and what have you learned when you appear at different venues and meet with people? Tell me about what you learned.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it with early onset Alzheimer's is that they're young people. So when you discuss that you have Alzheimer's and you're in your 40s, early 50s, it's hard for them to say because we're walking and talking. And what they have about people with Alzheimer's are people that are slumped over and drooling and, not be able to talk or walk. But, I'm there to show them that that's not the case. It's early for me. I don't know how much longer I have, but I know I'm doing well today, and they're astonished that it's not a death sentence right away, and that everybody that has dementia or Alzheimer's, their their symptoms are different. We're not all the same type of people, even though we have it. I mean, I might have some barriers that someone that got diagnosed the same year as I, there's several people that I know that are worse off than me, and there's people that are doing much better than I am. So to see the differences in each individual, and they're astonished. Sometimes I have to try to convince them, yes, I do have it. And they'll go, no, you don't have it. You don't look like you have it. You're talking to me and you're not forgetting anything and you're not slurring your words. But I say, yeah, I do. It's different for everybody. But you're not with me 24 hours a day. You're not seeing that, that I leave my phone in the refrigerator sometimes, or that sometimes I get off the toilet sometimes and forget to wipe. Something like that can be wiped away. Your day to day routines drop off every day. Sometimes you forget to zip up your pants and you've been walking around like that all day and you had no idea. So those kinds of things are, frustrating. There was one time where I had to have all my keys and everything, all my belongings hanging off my neck in order for me not to lose it. That was frustrating because that was during, while I was working. Because I would walk into an office, set the keys down, and just like that, would walk out and forget the keys and lock myself out of the office. So everything I owned had to stay on top, around my neck.
Now, looking back, what do you wish doctors or the healthcare system had done
Mhm.
differently when you were first diagnosed?
Well, Like I said, with this doctor, I wish that this person was took more gentle care with me. When she knew she was going to give me the diagnosis, I wish she had said, "Now I need you to bring a loved one with you to your next appointment, okay?" And things like that. I wish that she had said, here's a phone number for the Alzheimer's group. So if you need, any resources or anything, or even here's a pamphlet on what to expect in the next coming year or 2 years or 5 years. Or here's a pamphlet on, let's say, Dementia Minds, the National Council of Dementia Minds, if you want to look out, to have someone to talk to. Unfortunately, none of that was given to me in the beginning. And it was a hard, hard way to go. I had bouts of depression and anxiety. And I just wished in the beginning all that could have been eliminated if it was just given a piece of paper or even just a phone number, or even an invitation to say, if you have any questions, call me. I'll be here. Instead of I was just like a number, next, who's next, number five, I was, yeah.
You mentioned the wish that you would have been told perhaps a family member can be with you. Tell me the integral role your family has been uh, a part of on this journey, and tell me your advice on maybe how families can work together.
Well, the first thing is that you need need to trust a family member to go to all doctor's appointments, because it's not just you're not just going to need help with neurology. You're going to need help with, if you have physical therapy, if you're seeing on an ophthalmologist, or seeing an eye doctor, any doctor that you have to see, you're going to need someone to give you notes and to remind that she has Alzheimer's, so that they know how to treat you. There's been several times where I have told the doctor that I had Alzheimer's, and they spent the whole conversation talking to my daughter and not to me. So that was that was a pretty rough day. And he's like, "Hey, here, I'm over here." I forgot where I was.
Family.
Huh?
Family.
Oh, family. I'm sorry. And I have one daughter who gives me tough love. She doesn't coddle me. When I go, "Oh, I can't find, where's my phone?" And she'll say, "Mom, think about where you were. What room were you in? Where were you next to? Think about what you was wearing," or something like that. And I go, "Oh, yeah, 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 here it is. It's right here." So that, because sometimes, the things that, you have on you all the time, when you lose, it's like losing your lifeline. So you go into a complete panic. I don't have my phone. I don't have this or that. And then my husband, who unfortunately is just used for transportation, but at least he knows that, when I start up these conversations, that he wonders about, or sometimes I'll have outbursts, and I'll just call my dog's name for no reason. He's used to it. And he no longer go, "Why are you calling a dog's name?" And go, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're going through now. That's okay." And he'll say, "All right, you ready for bed now? Looks like you're pretty tired." Those are the things that help me tremendously with my family. They're very, very supportive. But I know that when my mother first got diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I and unfortunately, it came to the part that I had to put her in a nursing home very early, and that guilt really bothered me a lot. I just wished I could have been more supportive, but I didn't know what to do.
We've got a question from a watcher, Heather. She's asking, did we hear about what medication might have helped you, or did the medication help you?
Well, in the beginning, I was given Aricept. And like I said, she said, take it. It might slow the progression. It may not. You can take it if you feel like it's not helping. You don't have to take it anymore. I went from Aricept to, I think it was Memantine. Amenda. Is it Amenda? Huh? Namenda, something like that. And that medicine gave me vivid nightmares. I couldn't take it. But at least I could call the doctor and says, this, I can't wake up in a sweat like this, thinking dinosaurs and things were after me. So, she advised me, okay, don't take this medicine again until, the next appointment. So I felt comfortable calling, if I had questions, for my next appointment.
Have you tried to get involved with clinical trials?
I have not. Um, hmm? Who? I'm young. Oh, am I too young for clinical trial? Too young for clinical trial, I was told. Sorry.
Sure.
I
Uh,
think you have to be a certain age.
Finally, I just want to let you offer your words of hope or advice, what shall I say? If you could offer your words of advice to those who may be newly diagnosed or supporting a loved one through early onset Alzheimer's.
Yes, as a matter of fact, give me a second. I've written it down. I'm sorry, I might have to use my glasses a little bit. Because this part is important, I think. Um, um, First of all, I want to tell people that it's going to be okay. And seek help, God's help through prayer. Step one, it's okay to be afraid. There's nothing wrong with telling somebody I'm worried about the future. At least you'll be able to get it out in words and it's not locked up in your body, which sometimes causes other symptoms. So to be, honest with yourself and say, I'm worried about my future, which is okay. So once I did that, I felt a lot better. Find support in your family and the family that are positive family members are the most important. Those people that agree with your diagnosis and like to go ahead and give you a hug or understand that you need to go to bed a little early because you had a rough day, those are the people that you need to surround yourself. Try not to be around people that keep saying to you, there's nothing wrong with you. All you need to have is some coconut milk and you'll be fine. Or I heard on the internet, if you take this supplement, your memory will come back. So those are the kind of people that really will mess you up. So don't try not to stay around those people. And then find help um, through your online resources. Most people have a cell phone, an iPad, even on even in the television. Um, there's a lot of resources out there. Go to your local church. Sometimes they have web meetings about Alzheimer's in your local churches, and it's gonna be okay.
Alice, thank you so much for joining us and
Oh,
sharing
you're
your
welcome.
insight and inspiration. This has been a part of our Journey to Diagnosis series with support provided by Eli Lilly. And also thanks to our audience for tuning in. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter on beingpatient.com, where we'll keep you up to date on all the upcoming talks. See you next time.